please the flesh.
But why would you as a Christian be voting for the...
Well, we in the earth, we got to vote for the Lord because we live
No,
in
vote for the person who is following the word of God.
We don't have to vote.
But you are voting.
Our voting is hard.
But I'm just saying, why would you want to vote for someone who doesn't support your God when the other... you don't even have to vote for Trump.
I'm not saying anything about religion.
She told the people, get out, when they said Jesus is Lord, Christ is King. I saw it from multiple different angles. Someone said, Jesus is Lord, Christ is King. She said, y'all gotta go. Y'all are at the wrong rally. Why would you want to vote for someone like that?
That's going to try to stir up your faith in God to try to get you to be what? Against her, hate her, whatever.
I'm not against her, hate her. Kamala is my personality pick. I laugh at her all the time. I think she's beautiful. I would love to see a black woman represented, but she doesn't support my God.
I'm not looking at black and white.
I'm looking at my faith, but I don't really feel like y'all as Christians are.
What are you looking at?
What war against flesh and blood? It wasn't so much as a gun
so
war.
you go back and forth. You can't.
No, but I'm saying it was a war. It was a
It's a lot of fake Christians out here. It is. It's a lot of people that profess themselves to be of the faith, but is in no way a part of the faith. And they out here and they faking the funk. And I'm not saying that you got to be 100% perfect, but when somebody is blatantly disrespecting what you believe in and who you serve, that is a bigger issue. That is something that I think that we really need to concern ourselves with. But people will do anything to justify voting against Donald Trump. Let me say it again because y'all might have not caught that. People will justify anything to vote against Donald Trump. Most people are not voting for Kamala Harris. I don't know if y'all remember, but let me remind you again, Tulsi Gabbard absolutely destroyed Kamala Harris in a debate in 2019 when they were running for president of the United States of America, before she was hand-selected by Biden in order to win in the identity politics race, because he knew that he couldn't win by selecting another white man or somebody else that looked like him. In addition to that, 100% has been a part of this whole pride parade situation. Now, I'm not a person that's ever going to deny your humanity, but I will be 100% transparent on what I think if you ask me, or as a content creator, about what I stand for. And it's always going to be based off of biblical scriptures, the word of God, and America first. And then when it comes to me being a good person and a great father and a phenomenal husband, anything after that is extra. So I'm never going to align with identity politics. I can actually think that you're hilarious. I can think that you're funny. And just because you do something that I don't agree with doesn't mean that I can't recognize your greatness in whatever respective field that you're in. Because again, I'm not going to deny your humanity, but when it comes to voting for somebody that can represent me, that becomes a completely different dilemma when the person actually says that I'm not aligning with what you align with what it is that I'm proposing. And if the main thing that they're proposing, because she didn't even hit on this, and I always like to give credit to the content creators, so I'm always going to link back into the description, back to their profile, so you guys can show them some love, show them some credit, regardless of whether I agree with them or not. She didn't even hit on the fact that the main thing that they're pushing and standing on is using the deletion or getting rid of unwanted pregnancies as a form of contraception is wild to me, because how does that make sense? Instead of us being proactive and getting to the root cause and saying, hey, listen, marry before you carry, go back to traditional values. If we actually looked at the word of God and we valued God and the word of God the way that we're supposed to, we wouldn't be in a situation in the first place. And more importantly, eliminating unwanted babies is not all right. It's not all right. We don't live in a democracy. We live in a republic. And so it's not all right. And that's something that you can actually control. You can actually control who you open up your legs to. You can actually control who you put your seed in. And regardless of whether you get pregnant or you're getting her pregnant, you still have to be responsible and accountable for your actions on this earth. That does not absolve you from doing some of the most heinous things. You know, I was telling Carrie this, and I was telling Quentin and Slimmy on After Hours. Make sure y'all tune in to After Hours tonight. I was telling them this, and I was saying, I remember when I was on my way to the steel mill back in the 2002, 2003 era, whatever like that. And I used to work for the steel mill. I used to work for what was called Rouge Steel at the time. And then it transferred over to being, I forgot what the names was. It was Rouge Steel. Then there was Severstal. And then it was AK Steel, I believe. And then it transferred over to Cleveland Cliffs or something like that. And so it's been transitioning, but Trump is saving the steel industry. He saved the steel industry with his tariffs. And I still got friends that work there. And I used to pass by a credit union, and the credit union was for local 600 members. Anybody that worked at Rouge in the Dearborn area, if you worked in the steel industry, if you worked for Ford Motor Company over there, it was a credit union that was specifically for those workers. And anybody can join the credit union, but it was specifically for those workers. And so it was a Planned Parenthood or whatever the name of them are or was right next to it. And I would always see these people running outside and protesting outside or across the street with these signs. And one day I looked at the sign because I got stopped at a stoplight, and it forever changed my perspective towards it. And I can't understand why I blocked that out of my mind. Because again, back then we were, as it is now, especially for younger people, we were always taught to vote Democrat. We weren't taught to vote based off of our values or what makes the best economic policy or immigration or any of that type of stuff. And the Democratic Party back then is completely different from the Democratic Party right now. It's even more extreme, but it still had the same values. And I looked at that sign, and it showed what happens when women delete or remove an unwanted pregnancy. And I was like, what the heck is that, bro? It was one of the craziest things that I've ever seen in my entire life. And to know that there are women in neighborhoods and in urban communities where, you know, people don't even know somebody that did not have it, because it's almost like a rite of passage in our communities and in our environments. It's almost like a thing. Hey, just go and get it. That's the way it is. No big deal. And I blocked it out of my mind of looking at that as I went to work or as I went to the credit union every single day that I passed it on my way into the steel mill, because I didn't want to see it and I didn't want to associate it with anything. But in reality, I should have opened up my mind to why am I aligning myself with a party that believes in the mutilization or using it as a form of contraception. And we can use so many different examples. I couldn't believe that the church actually ran a play for her and ran an ad. I'm wondering how much of these church leaders getting paid. How many of these people have actually sold themselves out in order to align themselves with this woman and justify identity politics or to justify how much they hate Trump? And we're not even supposed to hate like that. Not like that. You can hate sin. And if you're going to hate sin, then you can't vote for this character. You can't vote for this communion. You can't vote for this person. Become president of the United States of America. But we got so many people that's leaning into the victim Olympics, and they deep diving into it, and they're not being accountable for it, and they justifying the fact that they aligning themselves with demonic practices in order to get this woman in office because they don't like Trump for whatever reason they've been marketed to. And as you can see right here, people will fight tooth and nail for the devil. They will fight tooth and nail for the unrighteous. They will fight tooth and nail to justify their beliefs or to justify what they're going to do, and then they'll block it out of their mind, similar to how I was blocking that out of my mind when I was going to the steel mill and pass these signs to these people that was protesting not to go in and not to do these things that's wrong. I don't get it. Just tell me that you want to do what you want to do, but don't sit here and justify it from a Christian's perspective, because it's wrong. It's wrong as two less shoes. And don't sit here and lie to me and say that you're voting for the two less evils. You're not. You're just playing the identity politics games, and you don't want to be held accountable for your actions. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. Also, Teach Hanley, 40% off your first order plus 20% off for life. And then last but not least, get your tickets to come and kick it with me in Atlanta on December 14th. Or not Atlanta, Detroit, December 14th. It's gonna go up. It's gonna be popping. Discount code Anton. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm gonna holler at you guys later. It's insane.